Hey everyone! Ready to unlock the secrets to understanding even the fastest English speakers?
We're diving deep into proven techniques and tools to really boost your listening skills.
It doesn't matter if you're just starting out or you've been working on this for a while.
Yeah, we've got something for you.
So today we're taking a deep dive into a guide that's packed with practical advice.
It even compares adult language learning to how kids effortlessly pick things up.
Right. Like, isn't it amazing how we learned our first language just by listening and mimicking?
It really is. And you know what's really fascinating?
What's that?
We can actually use that natural way we learned as kids to make learning as adults way more effective.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into it.
Okay.
Why is listening so important? I mean, This guide says it's literally the key to fluency.
Oh, absolutely.
Think about it. Easily understanding those fast conversations with native speakers or picking up new vocabulary just by tuning in.
Exactly. And remember, the goal is progress, not perfection.
Yeah.
You don't have to catch every single word.
Right.
Just focus on the main message and you'll be surprised how quickly you improve.
Okay. But let's be real.
Okay.
We all hit those roadblocks when it comes to English listening.
Oh, for sure.
Like those super fast native speakers, all those different accents out there.
Yeah.
It can feel overwhelming.
It can feel like you don't even know where to start.
Exactly.
A lot of people struggle with staying focused too.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when the content's tough.
So how do we tackle these challenges?
That's what we're here for.
Okay, great. Well, first, how can we make listening enjoyable?
I'm glad you asked that because the guide really stresses that it shouldn't feel like a chore. If you're not enjoying it, you're much less likely to stick with it.
It's like, would you rather force yourself to read a boring textbook? Or get totally hooked on your favorite TV show?
Right.
That's exactly what this guide recommends. Find content that excites you.
What's so interesting is that when you're genuinely invested in what you're listening to,
Yeah.
your brain is way more likely to absorb and remember the information.
Okay, so find something you actually like.
Yes.
Now let's talk about subtitles.
Okay.
They can be a game changer, but the key is using them strategically.
You don't want to become too reliant on them.
So this guide recommends starting with subtitles in your native language,
Okay.
just to get the gist. Then as you get better, switch to English subtitles,
Okay.
so you can see the words and hear them at the same time.
Yeah.
And eventually you can challenge yourself to turn them off altogether.
I like that approach a lot.
It's like leveling up your listening skills.
It's about building confidence and going at your own pace.
Okay, so what about those really tough spots?
What do you mean?
Like a super fast podcast or a tricky movie scene?
Our guide has a great tip for that.
Okay, what is it?
Break those difficult sections down into smaller chunks.
Okay.
Listen to a sentence a few times. Really focus on the meaning
Yeah.
and then try repeating it out loud. You'll be surprised how much that helps.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, you'll understand more and you'll actually improve your pronunciation at the same time.
Yeah, it's like two birds with one stone.
Exactly.
Now here's where things get interesting.
Okay, I like interesting.
Have you ever heard of the shadowing technique?
Shadowing.
It's like a superpower for improving your listening and speaking at the same time.
Tell me more.
So you listen to a short audio clip,
Okay.
maybe just like 10 seconds, and then try to repeat it immediately,
Like word for word.
mimicking everything.
Oh.
Like the rhythm, the intonation,
Okay.
even the way the speaker pronounces each sound.
Like you're their shadow.
Yeah.
I like that.
Now, I know it might sound a bit strange,
Yeah, a little bit.
but it actually taps into your brain's mirror neuron system.
Mirror neurons.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
What are those?
So it's this system in your brain that activates when you observe and imitate actions.
Oh, okay.
So when you shadow someone speaking,
Yeah.
your brain is basically learning by doing.
Even though you're just speaking out loud.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool.
It's like tricking your brain into thinking it's actually having a conversation.
I like that.
And the more you practice, the better you'll get at picking up on those subtle nuances of pronunciation and intonation.
So how much should people be practicing?
This guide recommends at least 10 to 15 minutes of English listening every day.
Every day?
Yeah, but the best part is you can totally incorporate it into your routine.
Oh, okay.
Like listen during your commute while you're cooking,
Yeah.
even just chilling out before bed.
Okay.
It's like a little workout for your ears.
I like that analogy.
And if you zoom out and look at the bigger picture,
Okay.
making listening a daily habit really leads to impressive long-term progress.
I believe that.
Okay, so we've talked about techniques.
Yeah.
What about tools? What are some of the best resources out there for language learners?
Oh, there are so many amazing resources out there.
I know. So many.
Our guide highlights a few that are particularly helpful. Okay, so for starters, podcasts are fantastic.
Yeah.
There are some specifically designed for learners.
Oh, cool.
Like The English We Speak.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah, and All Ears English.
Okay.
Which break down phrases and expressions in a really clear and engaging way.
I love those podcasts.
They're super helpful.
They are.
And then there are audiobooks,
Yeah.
which are another great option. You can listen while you follow along with the text,
Yeah.
which can be really helpful for boosting your comprehension.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, so podcasts, audiobooks.
This is where it gets super exciting.
Okay, tell me.
Have you ever heard of Google Notebook LM?
Google Notebook LM.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Tell me more.
Okay, so it's this revolutionary AI tool that lets you upload transcripts,
Oh, wow.
organize all your notes,
Okay.
and even create personalized quizzes based on the stuff you're listening to.
Wait, so it's like having a personal tutor
Basically,
who can adapt to my learning style and pace.
you got it.
Wow, this is amazing.
It really empowers you to take control of your learning journey and get a deeper level of understanding.
Okay, I'm sold. I can't wait to try it out.
You should, it's a total game changer.
Okay, so just to recap.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive.
We have.
We explored choosing content you love.
Yeah.
Using subtitles strategically.
Yeah.
Breaking down tough sections, and even harnessing the power of your brain's mirror neurons with shadowing.
That's right. And we've only just scratched the surface.
Oh, there's more.
Oh, yeah. We'll dive into even more techniques and resources in the next part of our deep dive.
Awesome. I can't wait.
So stay tuned.
You definitely won't want to miss it. Until then, keep practicing those listening skills and have fun.
Have fun.
Okay, see you next time.
Bye.
Welcome back. Ready for round 2 of boosting those English listening skills.
We're about to uncover even more techniques and tools.
Yeah, to really help you tackle those listening challenges head on.
That's right.
So in the last part, we talked about picking content you enjoy, using subtitles strategically,
Yeah.
and breaking down those tricky sections.
Right.
We even explored the fascinating world of shadowing.
Yeah. And how it can unlock a whole new level of listening and speaking mastery.
It's pretty powerful stuff.
It is.
But we're just getting started.
Okay.
Today, we're going to delve into some common hurdles that you've probably encountered,
Like what?
like dealing with native speakers who talk at lightning speed.
Oh, yeah. Those guys. It's like they're swallowing half their words.
I know, right?
Well, it's not quite that extreme,
Okay.
but it is true that native speakers use a lot of contractions.
Yeah.
And they blend words together, which can make it sound much faster than it really is.
So our guide explains that this is actually totally normal. It's just how native speakers naturally talk.
In everyday conversation.
So how can you train your ear to decode these rapid fire exchanges?
Well, our guide offers some helpful strategies for that.
Like what?
One effective technique is to focus on recognizing key words and phrases.
Yep.
You don't need to catch every single word.
Yeah,
Just try to identify the main ideas and the most important information.
that makes sense. It's kind of like listening for clues in a detective story.
Exactly.
You're piecing together the puzzle by focusing on those key elements.
And remember, repetition is your friend.
Yeah.
The more you expose yourself to native speech, the more your brain will adapt to the speed and the rhythm.
It's like training a muscle, right?
Absolutely. At first, it feels challenging,
Yeah.
but with consistent practice, it becomes easier and more natural.
Okay, so practice. Practice.
Exactly.
Now let's switch gears and talk about another challenge.
Okay.
Navigating all the different accents.
Oh, yeah. From American to
Right.
British
Australian.
to South African.
It's a whole world of accents out there,
It really is.
which is one of the things that makes the English language so fascinating.
It reflects the diversity of all the different English speakers around the world,
Exactly.
but I can see how it might feel a bit overwhelming.
It can be.
Yeah.
So how can you become more comfortable understanding different accents?
The key is to embrace the variety.
Okay.
Don't shy away from listening to different accents,
Even if they sound unfamiliar at first.
especially if they sound unfamiliar at first. In fact, our guide specifically suggests seeking out content from different English-speaking countries.
So watch movies, listen to podcasts,
Yeah.
maybe follow social media accounts from different regions.
Exactly. By immersing yourself in this world of accents, you'll gradually train your ear to pick up on those subtle differences.
In pronunciation, intonation.
Yeah, and over time, you'll find it much easier to understand and even appreciate the nuances of each accent.
You'll become a true global listener.
That's right.
But what about those times when you encounter an unfamiliar accent and you feel completely lost?
Well, there are a few things you can do.
Okay.
First, remember that context is king.
Context is king.
Even if you don't catch every word, the situation itself can provide valuable clues.
Okay, so like if you're watching a cooking show,
Yeah,
you can probably guess they're talking about ingredients or techniques.
exactly. Even if the accent is totally new to you.
Right, and don't forget about body language and facial expressions.
Oh, that's so important.
Remember, communication is more than just words.
It really is.
So a smile, a frown, a gesture, all of these can clarify the meaning.
Especially if you're struggling to understand the words themselves.
Okay, so we've got context and body language.
What else?
What else can we do to improve our understanding of different accents?
Well, there are tons of online resources
Okay.
specifically designed to help you with accent comprehension.
Oh, cool.
There are websites, apps, even YouTube channels dedicated to explaining different English accents.
I've seen those that even have interactive exercises
Uh-huh.
where you can listen to clips and test your understanding.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, it is. And don't underestimate the value of simply listening to a variety of English speakers.
That's right, in different contexts.
The more exposure you get, the more comfortable you'll become.
Exactly.
Speaking of exposure, let's shift gears and talk about focus and concentration.
Oh, that's a good one. It's so easy to get distracted,
I know.
especially when you're listening to English.
Yeah.
Whether it's because the content's difficult or there's just a lot of noise around you.
So our guide emphasizes the importance of creating a good listening environment.
Find a quiet space where you can minimize distractions.
Okay.
Maybe turn off your phone.
Yeah.
Close those extra tabs on your computer. Maybe even use some noise canceling headphones.
The goal is to create a space where you can really zero in
Yeah.
on the sound of the English language. I like to even take a few deep breaths
Oh, yeah.
just to clear my mind before I start listening.
That's a great idea. It helps you get in the zone.
Yeah. And speaking of getting in the zone, our guide also suggests setting realistic goals.
Okay. What does that mean?
So don't try to listen for hours on end,
Okay.
especially when you're first getting started.
Right.
Start with shorter sessions and gradually increase the duration as you build up your stamina.
Okay.
It's also helpful to break your listening practice down into smaller chunks.
Like we talked about earlier.
Yeah, just like we talked about with those difficult sections.
So instead of listening to a whole podcast all at once,
Yeah,
break it up into smaller segments throughout the day.
that's a great strategy. And remember, it's okay to pause, rewind, replay.
Take your time and absorb the information.
Now let's talk about active listening.
Active listening.
What's the difference between just hearing the words
Yeah.
and actively listening?
Active listening is about engaging with the content,
Okay.
not just passively absorbing it. It involves thinking critically about what you're hearing
Yeah.
and making connections to your existing knowledge.
I like to think of it as having a conversation in my head
I love that analogy.
with the speaker. So are there specific techniques to become a more active listener?
There are.
Okay, like what?
One is to take notes while you listen.
Okay.
Jot down key ideas, new vocabulary, any questions that come up.
That makes sense because it forces you to stay engaged and pay attention.
And then you can use those notes to review the material later.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Another active listening technique is to summarize what you've heard
Oh, okay.
in your own words.
So after listening to a section,
Yeah.
just pause and try to recap the main points.
It's a great way to check your comprehension
Yeah.
and see if there are any areas where you need some clarification.
And don't be afraid to ask yourself questions while you're listening.
Like what?
What's the speaker's main argument? What evidence are they using? How does this connect to what I already know?
Those are great questions. By engaging with material this way,
Yeah.
you'll deepen your understanding and make the listening experience so much more meaningful.
Okay, so we've talked about choosing the right content, dealing with fast speakers and accents, creating a good listening environment,
Yeah.
and becoming an active listener.
Right.
What other challenges do people face?
Well, one common obstacle is encountering unfamiliar vocabulary.
Oh, yeah.
It's inevitable that you'll come across words you don't know
It happens to all of us.
while listening to English.
Yeah, it can be frustrating when you feel like you're missing out on the meaning.
I know, but don't let it discourage you.
Right.
It's actually a fantastic opportunity to expand your vocabulary.
So how do we tackle unfamiliar words?
Well, our guide offers some helpful strategies.
Okay, yeah.
One approach is to try to guess the meaning of the word
Okay.
based on the context.
So using those context clues.
Exactly like being a detective again.
I like that.
And if you're still unsure, another strategy is to keep a vocabulary notebook
Okay.
or use a digital flashcard app to record new words and their meanings.
And then review them regularly.
Yes, to solidify your learning.
I use flashcards all the time.
They're super helpful.
They are.
And then if you're ever completely stumped, don't hesitate to look it up.
In a dictionary.
Yeah, in a dictionary or an online translator.
There's no shame in that.
None at all. Expanding your vocabulary is an ongoing process. And it's totally okay to seek help when you need it.
Okay, so let's talk about another important aspect of listening.
What's that?
Its impact on your own pronunciation.
That's a great point.
While listening is mainly about comprehension,
Yeah.
it also plays a role in shaping how you pronounce words yourself.
So by listening to native speakers, you can pick up on the correct way to pronounce words.
Including those subtle nuances of intonation and stress.
Exactly. One way to really focus on pronunciation while you're listening is to pay attention to individual sounds,
Okay.
like how native speakers articulate different vowels and consonants.
And try to imitate those intonation patterns.
Yes, that rise and fall of their voice.
And how they emphasize certain words.
It's all part of sounding more natural and fluent.
So our guide actually suggests recording yourself
Oh, that's a good idea.
speaking English and then comparing it.
To recordings of native speakers.
Yeah, it's a great way to identify areas where you might need some extra practice.
I like that a lot.
And don't be afraid to speak out loud as much as possible.
Yes. The more you practice, the more confident and natural you'll sound.
Now, remember that shadowing technique we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
It's not just great for mimicking pronunciation. It's actually incredible for improving both your listening and your speaking
At the same time.
at the same time.
It's like a vocal workout.
where you're training your mouth to move in the same way as a native speaker.
That's a great way to put it.
Now, just to refresh our memories,
Okay.
how does shadowing work again?
So you choose a short audio clip, maybe a sentence or two,
Okay.
and you listen to it a couple of times.
To get a feel for the rhythm and intonation.
Exactly. Then pause the audio.
Okay.
And try to repeat the clip out loud, mimicking the speaker as closely as you can.
Okay, and you could repeat it several times,
Yeah,
gradually increasing your speed and accuracy.
that's right.
It sounds simple, but why is it so effective?
Well, it's engaging multiple skills at the same time.
Like what?
It's sharpening your listening comprehension, refining your pronunciation, helping you grasp intonation,
Okay.
and even boosting your overall speaking fluency.
So where can people find resources to practice shadowing?
There are some great websites and apps designed specifically for shadowing practice.
Oh, cool.
These resources usually provide audio clips with transcripts,
Okay,
so you can follow along and check your accuracy.
that's helpful.
You can also find shadowing exercises on YouTube and other online platforms.
So there are plenty of options out there.
There are.
Okay, now before we move on,
Yeah.
let's discuss some common mistakes that learners make when practicing listening.
Good idea. Being aware of these pitfalls
Yeah.
can help you avoid them.
And make your practice much more effective.
Exactly.
Okay, so what are some of those mistakes?
One very common mistake is getting too hung up on individual words
Okay,
instead of focusing on the overall meaning.
so don't get bogged down in the details.
That's right. Remember, listening is all about understanding the message.
Yeah, not just decoding every single word.
Exactly. Another common mistake is trying to translate everything in your head as you listen.
Oh, I used to do that all the time.
It's a natural tendency,
Yeah.
but it can really slow down your comprehension and prevent you from grasping the natural flow of the language.
It's like you're creating an extra step,
Right.
which makes it harder to keep up.
The goal is to train your brain to think in English as much as possible.
So instead of translating,
Yeah,
just focus on understanding the meaning directly from the English words.
exactly. Now, another mistake that a lot of learners make
Yeah.
is giving up too easily when they encounter challenging content.
It's easy to get discouraged
It is.
when you don't understand everything perfectly.
But remember, listening is a skill that takes time and effort
It does.
to develop, so don't beat yourself up if you don't understand everything at first.
Yeah.
Focus on celebrating your progress.
Okay.
And gradually increasing the difficulty
And the materials.
of the materials that you listen to.
So it's a process.
It is.
Now, speaking of progress, another common mistake is neglecting to review and practice what you've learned.
Oh, that's so important.
So it's not enough to just listen to English once and call it a day. You need to actively engage with the material.
Review those new vocabulary words,
Mm-hmm.
practice those listening skills regularly,
Right.
and make sure the information is sinking in.
Repetition is key.
Absolutely. And finally, remember to have fun.
Yes.
Learning English should be an enjoyable experience.
You should not feel like a chore.
Exactly. Choose content that interests you.
Yep.
Experiment with different learning methods.
Okay.
And don't be afraid to make mistakes.
It's all part of the process.
The more you enjoy the process,
Yeah.
the more motivated you'll be to keep learning.
And that motivation will lead to fluency.
Exactly.
So in this part of our deep dive,
Yeah.
we've covered some common challenges and mistakes, as well as some powerful techniques and tools for overcoming them.
That's right.
We've explored how to deal with fast speakers and diverse accents,
Yeah.
how to create a good listening environment, and how to become a more active listener.
We also talked about vocabulary,
Expanding your vocabulary.
improving your pronunciation, and the benefits of shadowing.
And we highlighted some common pitfalls to avoid.
Like focusing on the overall meaning,
Right.
avoiding translating in your head,
Mm-hmm.
being patient with yourself,
Yes.
and most importantly, having fun.
Having fun.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground,
We have.
but there's still more to come.
There is.
In the final part of our deep dive, we'll recap all the key takeaways, answer your burning questions,
Yeah.
and leave you with some final thoughts and inspiration.
To fuel your listening journey.
You won't want to miss it, so stay tuned. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into mastering English listening.
We've covered so much ground.
I know, right? It's been a really interesting journey.
From why listening is the cornerstone of fluency to all those techniques and resources.
So before we wrap things up,
Okay.
let's just take a moment to revisit some of the key takeaways.
Make sure they really stick with you.
Yeah, exactly. So first, remember that the goal is progress.
Not perfection.
Don't get discouraged if you don't understand every single word.
Right off the bat.
Just focus on grasping those main ideas.
And celebrate all those little victories along the way.
Speaking of victories,
Yeah.
One of the best ways to stay motivated
Okay.
is to choose content that you actually enjoy,
Oh, absolutely.
whether it's podcasts or movies, TV shows, audiobooks.
Make learning feel like fun.
Yeah, not a chore.
An adventure.
An adventure, exactly. And remember our conversation about subtitles?
Oh, yeah.
They can be such a game changer.
Yeah.
Starting with subtitles in your native language if you need to, then gradually transition to English subtitles.
Yep.
And eventually you can challenge yourself to listen without them.
It's like leveling up
Yeah, it's like climbing a staircase.
to listening independence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We also talked about breaking down those challenging sections
Yeah.
into smaller bite-sized pieces,
Right.
and repeating those tricky sentences out loud can really work wonders.
For both your comprehension and your pronunciation.
It's amazing how much that helps.
It is.
And who could forget the shadowing technique
Yeah, it's like a secret weapon.
for leveling up your listening and speaking skills at the same time,
Simultaneously.
simultaneously?
It's so powerful.
It is. And we also emphasize how important consistency is.
Oh, yeah.
Aim for at least 10 to 15 minutes of English listening every day.
It's like a mini workout,
For your ears.
and you can easily fit it into your routine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, let's not forget about all those incredible tools that are out there.
So many resources.
Podcasts like The English We Speak
Yeah.
and All Ears English.
Which are specifically designed for learners
Yeah, they break down the
in
language.
a really clear and engaging way.
And audiobooks.
Offer a fantastic way to immerse yourself
Yeah,
in those stories.
while strengthening your comprehension.
And you can always follow along with the text if you need to.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're looking for a truly personalized experience,
AI tools
like Google Notebook LM,
are amazing.
they let you upload transcripts and organize notes.
Create quizzes based on the material.
It's like having a personal tutor
Who tailors the experience to your needs.
to your unique style and pace.
Exactly.
So what does all of this mean for you?
Yeah.
You now have all these techniques and tools
It's a treasure trove.
to really supercharge your English listening skills.
But the real magic happens when you take action.
You got to put these strategies into practice. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a thought-provoking question.
Okay, go for it.
What specific content are you going to choose to practice your English listening?
Yeah.
And which tool are you most excited to try out?
I'm excited to hear what you pick.
Yeah, I am too. Remember, the journey to fluency is ongoing.
And every step brings you closer to your goal.
So keep exploring, keep practicing,
Most importantly, have fun.
have fun. Enjoy the world of English audio.
It's an amazing world out there.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time,
Happy listening.
happy listening.